I featured this Maple Avenue home earlier this summer in a video when these homeowners first began tearing the vinyl siding off their house and exposing what was there. The original wood siding, and you can see up there in the gable that sawtooth pattern that was original and covered with vinyl. I love to come back here as they've nearly finished the project to look at two different things, proportions and colors, because my advice on renovating an old house are different for proportions and colors. For proportions, I would argue that you keep them as close to original as possible. These are brand new windows, but they kept the original window size. They didn't make them smaller. And the siding coverage that we see here that they kept at about 4.5 inches, that's what you want. You don't want to go with something bigger. They've gone with trim that's the same as original. All of this is new. They recreated it all just as it was originally. And that's because all the research shows that people will always choose what was closer to original. Even people that don't know anything about architecture, they just go, I like that better, all right? Now, when it comes to paint colors, my advice is different. I say with paint colors, paint your house whatever color you want to paint it. And I say that because, you know, this house, they've actually painted the opposite of the way paint colors were done in the late Victorian era when this house was new. Back in that era, the siding, that was your lightest color. And as you moved in towards the windows or towards architectural detail, it got darker. So the trim would be a darker color. And then your actual window sash trim would be an even darker color. Well, this looks great. So it doesn't matter that it's the opposite of what would have been done when this house was built. Because if this homeowner decides they want a different color, they can just paint it a different color. If the next buyer wants to do that, they may. That's easy to change, relatively speaking. But changing the proportions of things, like the size of window, the size of trim, that's a very hard thing to change. So when you're renovating a historic home, keep those original proportions of the architectural elements as close to original as possible. And when it comes to paint colors, have fun and do whatever works for you.